guys ready for Erik? Erik!
I moved here to Houston, Texas, which is among the most multicultural of American cities. And I moved here from a small town in Montana, which is about the whitest area of the country. So when I got here, I was blown away by all the cultures and people. And to be honest, I was a bit scared about all this. I got my first big taste of this diverse new world when I was driving around Houston, putting in job applications everywhere. And I came across what I thought was a barbershop. Figured a new haircut might increase my job chances, so I went inside. All of the hairdressers were African American women. All of the customers getting their hair done were African American women. Everybody in the waiting area, well, you can see the trend. This was not Ernie's barbershop in Big Sandy, Montana. I figured I was in the wrong place, so I started to back up. But then this tall, boisterous hairdresser, her name tag said Charlotte. She said, "Have a seat, sugar." So, now, something didn't seem to match up here, but then I thought, if I were to leave, would that make me a racist? So I humbly sat down. The ladies there all apparently sensed my discomfort because they smiled at me very friendly, and I felt obliged to say something. I heard some familiar music coming from the speakers, and I said, "I love Whitney Houston." And somebody said, "That's Celine Dion." And I thought, oh my God, I've offended everybody here. So I said, "But I like Aretha Franklin and Diana Ross, who's that other one? Roberta Flack." Incidentally, I think Denzel Washington is a much better actor than Tom Cruise. Then I hear this voice behind me. "Hey, sugar." I turn, and there's Charlotte. She's got this towel draped over her left forearm, these big scissors in her right hand. She looked like a matador. She said, "As soon as you're done playing Name That Black Person, you're next." So I crept up into the chair. Charlotte says, "How do you want your hair done?" Now, I'd had the same boring haircut from the same barber my entire life, so I'd never had to answer that question. So I just looked at her and I told her what I always told Ernie. I said, "The usual?" She laughed and she said, "How about you trust me to just trim it up all the way around and we'll see how it looks." I was at this woman's mercy. She swooped in with those big scissors, left and right. It was like bullets whizzing past my head. I envisioned going to a job interview and them saying, "We don't hire people with hair like that." And pretty soon Charlotte started talking to me. She asked me about my family. She told me about hers. She showed me a picture of her granddaughter. We talked about Montana. Occasionally she'd pat me on the head and call me sugar. I began to relax and enjoy the atmosphere. I mean, nothing against Ernie, but Charlotte was a lot more fun. Well, pretty soon she stopped. She slapped some goop into her hands, rubbed it in my hair. She said, "All done." I'd been having so much fun, I'd forgotten that my appearance was being altered for job interviews. She turned me toward the mirror. I looked in and I said, "Damn." It was the closest I'd ever been to being a handsome dreamboat. It was nice and even on top, tapered in the back, had a little flare on the sides that Ernie'd never done. I jumped out of that chair, I gave Charlotte a hug, went out to meet the day, and I landed a damn good job. Well, About a year later, I was running an errand just outside of Houston, and it occurred to me Charlotte's hair shop was right in that area where I was driving. So I felt compelled to go visit Charlotte again. So I hunted it down, finally found her place. Sure enough, Charlotte was there. I waved at her, but she didn't seem to recognize me. And that bummed me out because for some reason I really wanted Charlotte to remember me. I don't know why it was so important. So I sat down and I was watching her work, and then I realized why. When I'd first come to Houston, I was suspicious of anybody who didn't look like me. I started to trust people. Pretty soon I'm mingling with everybody, and it's great, and my fresh new perspective all started with that first haircut. Well, pretty soon is my turn. I get up in the chair. I sit down. Charlotte backs up a step. She looks at me real funny and she says, "The usual?" And I said, "Oh, yes."